Who did that? Who did that? Is it even worth finding that out? Welcome to Thank God It's a Story Saturday weekly video series where I share stories with you that you can use to make your messages connect. Today's story is a story made up of 3 little stories. The very first one is a story when early in my career, I used to be a banquet coordinator. And one day I had organized an event for 200 guests. But when the event started to take place, 300 people turned up. The banquet staff was going ballistic trying to organize chairs and tables and food, and they blamed me ceaselessly. I stood on one side and said, it's not my fault. The client said 200, they show up 300, what can I do? My boss said, relax, calm down. They are uncomfortable, they need someone to blame, they're blaming you. I felt okay about that. Many years later, on RSA YouTube channel, I watched a video by Dr. Brene Brown where she talks about blame. She says that one day she was standing in white slacks and pink sweater in the kitchen and making coffee. And while she was drinking the coffee, the cup broke into a million pieces and the coffee fell all over her. And the first thing that came to her mind was, damn you, Steve. Steve is her husband. And she says, where my mind straight away went was that the night before, her husband Steve, who loves to play water polo, had gone to play water polo. And she'd said, look, Steve, please be home by 10 o'clock because if you don't come back on time, I can't fall asleep. Well, he came at 10:30. And in that extra half an hour, she ended up having another coffee, which she shouldn't have had. And that is why maybe in the morning she was feeling sleepy and tired and the cup dropped. She says that, blame is nothing, but it is releasing and discharging pain and discomfort. People who blame a lot actually do not have the tenacity and the grit to actually talk to people and figure out why, what exactly is happening over here. So much easier to blame. Now, if you look at it from an organizational perspective, say, for example, there is a plane crash that happens. Normally, the way it works is we are blaming the aeroplane crash maybe on a sleepy pilot. But in this book, Factfulness, Dr. Hans Rosling says, blaming an airplane crash on a sleepy pilot will not help to stop further crashes. To do that, we must ask, why was he sleepy? How can we regulate against sleepy pilots in the future? If we stop thinking when we find the sleepy pilot, we make no progress. To understand most of the world's significant problems, we have to look beyond a guilty individual and to the systems. He also says, don't look for villains, look for causes. Whether it's a personal change or an organizational change, departmental change, a nationwide change or an international change. Let's remove the focus of blaming people for things that go wrong. And let's try and find out why those things go wrong. Stay storied. I'll see you here next Saturday with another story.